by the military-industrial complex.
It could be seen to move violently forward, violently forward, violently forward.
I'm just a patsy.
Like when they attack.
I said this once or twice, but it bears repeating. If you like your current insurance, you will keep your current insurance.
When you think about the Army and the Navy and the missions they run to protect the world, they run on SAP.
Well, you have done a really spectacular job. I guess pretty much everybody at this table is your customer, so that's not so bad.
Exactly.
I want to congratulate
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
And we're back. How you doing, George?
Better. I'm not in the Chicago at the DNC anymore, so I don't have background noise and so forth. I'm actually in Post Falls, Idaho. So
Well,
yeah.
George, your background kind of reminds me of the old moving finger days.
Yeah. I thought I'd put.
You've got the circles and arrows like an Arlo Guthrie song.
Yeah. I thought Arlo Guthrie described the Group W bench pretty well, and he inspired me to go into citizen journalism. But this reminds you BlackRock had an early influence on Crooks while he was still in high school. And of course, they own the company that owns the glass company there, and where he ended up taking the shots. So, or was at least a helper. So yeah, this is fun. We're getting all over the country.
You're getting all over the country, and so what have you discovered since last we spoke about the whole Crooks situation?
I think the big thing is that he had encrypted accounts, and it turns out that they were shared accounts. And of the 700 messages, a lot of
they were shared accounts, like Paula, what's her name, and General Petraeus shared account kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Only these were the
Paula Broadwell. That was it, right?
Paula Broadwell with David Petraeus. All the plans for Zero Footprint and Timber Sycamore, but these were with older people. And they said that a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, going back that far, couldn't possibly have written these messages. So that's how, but the FBI, are they giving us the messages? Are they giving us the creation dates? No, suppressing that information. But it's obvious now that these encrypted accounts weren't the idea of Crooks originally.
Interesting. So who are they giving the information to? Let me guess. The Washington Post?
Well, members of Congress have to have something to break as a
right.
resource. So they breadcrumb this stuff out to Congress. And we, of course, said that they were shared accounts from the beginning. We even named the accounts where we thought they were the only logical people who they could be. But we're not there yet. Kim.com could weigh in here and talk about whatever the New Zealand encrypted service is. I think it's going to be Mega.
Well, that's his service, right?
That's his service. And but there's one they won't release, and I think they're protecting Kim.com as an FBI informant. But then the other two they did release, they haven't told us what they are, but the congressmen know.
Wasn't Kim.com indicted for years in the United States?
He's about ready to be extradited, supposedly. He left Hong Kong with Mega Upload. He went to New Zealand, if you remember, so he wouldn't get extradited, and then sort of the same Julian Assange situation. And then he started Mega, which is the encrypted service.
And Edward Snowden, too, right?
Snowden, similar story, because they... So, I wish the Congress, it wouldn't be this eyedropper type, Chinese water torture type release of information. Hey, if he had 700 messages, just publish them.
Why? If I was listening to something, I think it was dark journalist. I can't remember where I was listening to it, but the idea was that, if you've got like 40,000 pieces of information, if you just drip one out, a day or every couple of days, you can take something like the John F. Kennedy assassination and drag it out over 60 years, and nobody will be the wiser. And by the time people know the full story, all of the people who would normally be held accountable will be dead and gone. And all of the organizations will have changed their names so that people can say with a straight face, "Oh, well, that organization doesn't actually even exist anymore." So,
yeah, I think that's the strategy. And of course, citizen journalism was there. We have all these phones where the Kennedy assassination we only had one film of the Kennedy assassination. This one we've got 30,000 people. So we're appealing to people to join the community and put this information forward. We identified where the car was and so forth. So we're doing a good job, I think, where the Kennedy assassination was a real water torture.
All right. Well, I think my camera is. I think that what I figured out is that my camera stops when it overheats. I'm guessing. So I'm not even going to try to restart it this time. I am just going to switch cameras. Hang on a second here.
It's a neat visual effect. It's sort of like the orb, the Oracle of Delphi speaking. It has that kind of resonating pitch to it, so it looks good.
Right. Well, let me see if this works. I'm trying to switch to my Apple Studio Display camera, but that doesn't seem to be working either. Yeah, there's one guy that Matthew Arrett appears with, who's always got like a gorilla icon or something, and it bothers me a little bit with that. And I'm trying to get my FaceTime camera to. Okay, I tried the FaceTime camera on my monitor, and it's not working, and now I'm trying to find my FaceTime. Well, I may just have to go with this.
Well, it's a neat effect. It's kind of like Stanley Kubrick filming the eye.
Well, actually, the camera is still working because I have a monitor and I can see myself in the monitor. It's not working here. So anyway, I wanted to make a full disclosure.
Do you mind if I call you Hal? No, I'm just kidding.
Hal. Well, I should probably change the icon to like a big eyeball, a little shiny anamorphic lens or something. I wanted to start off by saying that the title British Bullets and Ballots, I always want to differentiate from the citizens or subjects of the British Empire, who I wish they were citizens, but I think they're all subjects, and the people who actually run the British Empire, because I think that's two completely different sets of people. And so when I say British bullets and ballots, I probably should more accurately say British oligarchs, bullets and ballots, and differentiate there. But then you lose the alliteration.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You mean the Office of Strategic Planning, or whatever that strategic planning office is in the City of London, and MI6 headquarters on the Thames there.
Right.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and so what you and I were talking about earlier is that you're digging into all the details. So you're looking at Dimick, and you're looking at the glass company, and you're looking at the holding companies that are owning the glass company, and you're kind of digging into the details. And I'm thinking, and I'm leaning back in my chair, and I'm going, well, Lyndon LaRouche said it's the British. In fact, I have a list here. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Well, Cheney is a very British name, and the Cheney name goes all the way back to, I think, Henry VIII, or maybe Queen Elizabeth, as sort of the henchman of the Elizabethan court, or even go back to the Tudor court, I believe, the Cheneys. But Elizabethan for sure.
Right, and then even back in the Elizabethan court, you've got the Cecil, Lord Cecil, who is I think Chancellor of the Exchequer or something, if they had that, or he was the head of the Treasury. And, the Cecil block was the controlling oligarchical family as defined by Carroll Quigley. in Tragedy and Hope.
Yep.
And then you got Cecil Rhodes. Is Cecil Rhodes named for the Cecils? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but it would make sense to me that that's what was going on.
I think he should have been called Cecil. Let him go to Africa and negotiate it with all the tribes, get all the gold, and then have him die young.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that seems to happen quite a bit in these things. So let me, if I'm still sharing this, which I think I am, I'm doing one of my summarizers right now on. Okay, I've lost the ability to find my tabs. Here we go. On ChatGPT, and I've been going through some really interesting old speeches that were given by the LaRouche organization, and so this was here I'll zoom up to the top here. This was Britain's Invisible Empire. The Empire Today by Jeff Steinberg, and I'm summarizing this, and this will probably be the next post on the Duke Report. So this is my process. I run all of these prompts on here, and then I come up with these summaries. But I asked the document before the show. I asked the document, detail presidential assassinations within the scope of the transcript, maintain an authoritative voice. And this is what it said. It said, presidential assassinations eliminating threats to the British Empire. Presidential assassinations have been a key tool utilized by the British Empire to eliminate leaders who pose a direct threat to its global dominance. These assassinations are not random acts of violence, but calculated moves orchestrated to protect the interests of the empire and maintain its control over global affairs. President Abraham Lincoln was the first U.S. president targeted because of his resistance to British influence, particularly during the American Civil War. Lincoln's policies aimed to strengthen the Union and determine the British strategy of dividing the United States. His assassination in 1865 by John Wilkes Booth, a man with connections to pro-Confederate and anti-Union factions, was intended to destabilize the United States and ensure British interests in a divided America were preserved. And as Matthew Arup points out, he was dispatched directly from Montreal, Canada, when he came down to Washington, D.C. President James Garfield was assassinated in 1881 due to his efforts to reform the banking system and reduce the influence of British-controlled financial institutions in the United States. Garfield sought to break the power of these institutions, which had long exerted significant control over the American economy, often to the detriment of the U.S. sovereignty. His assassination was orchestrated to prevent these reforms and maintain British financial dominance in the United States. President William McKinley was assassinated in 1901 because of his economic policies, which aimed to protect American industry and reduce dependency on British-controlled markets. McKinley's advocacy for tariffs and his support of American business threatened economic interests of the British Empire. His assassination was a decisive act to remove a leader who was steering the United States towards economic independence, thereby ensuring that the empire's control over global trade remained unchallenged. And then, of course, John F. Kennedy faced a similar fate in 1963, largely due to his opposition to British imperial strategies, particularly his support for the Strategic Defense Initiative. Kennedy's vision, now I think that maybe GPT has hallucinated this. I think this is a hallucination. Because
might be the Reagan.
SDI is a Reagan thing. So. Yeah. So this is the kind of thing that I find on GPT all the time. So I have to read this stuff and then fact check it. And so I could ask it the question right now. I can say, isn't SDI a Reagan thing? And did you hallucinate that? And then it'll answer. It'll apologize. You're correct. That Strategic Defense Initiative, commonly known as Star Wars, was a defense project initiated by President Ronald Reagan. All right, so this is a great, in real time demonstration of why you can't use GPT as a encyclopedia. You have to be able to go through and check this stuff because it will hallucinate stuff. But the other stuff that I was reading was not hallucinated. That was taken straight from the transcript. And one of the things that I say in my prompts is you need to stick to the transcript. But even if you say it, even if you tell it to do it, sometimes it doesn't do it. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, LaRouche has a lot of insight, especially in the area of Anglo-American affairs. Starting from the first days and going all the way back to the British Empire.
We're going back to Venice.
Yeah, all the trading houses and so forth, and the banking and the innovations, and moving it offshore, off of outside of continental Europe, and all these things. And your Mackinder diagram does a good job of saying, as long as these two worlds are separated by a trading post, a British trading post, we're going to be all right. Let's just call it Israel. And I think that very much.
Let's just call it Israel, and we'll make life hard for Jews around the world, so they'll feel like they have to go there and defend it for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much. I mean, the Balfour Declaration, obviously, but like you mentioned, go back to Lincoln, was very much a part of, hey, let's make this the trading post of the world between these two worlds. Like you said, it was Orwell's Oceania versus the other guys. I can't remember, Europa, whatever it was.
I think East Asia and
It's a strategy, and if you're a very small island, it's a pretty. I mean, from just a chess point of view, it's a pretty smart strategy. Go to the most strategic point in the world, control that point, and you become the broker for the world.
Right, exactly, and giving all of these. I asked, I did a 4-part series last week on the Duke Report, featuring Stephen Coughlin's 4 lectures on dialectic warfare, which I thought were excellent. But then, I noticed Coughlin is. He seems to be a very the disconnect that I have is that there seems to be a very anti Hamas or Islamic terror component to a lot of his tweets, and to me that's just another dialectic. To me, the anti-Semite, the Muslim anti-Semite trope is just another chapter of the same program that's being worked. It's all psychological warfare. It's all dialectical warfare, but this one uses religion instead of postmodern deconstructionist definitions.
Yeah, I call it like boogeyman warfare, where some people say the Soviet Union is created by the British Empire. Hitler was the rise of Hitler. I know the Italian guy. I can't remember his name.
Preparata
talks about that, and these boogeyman strategies are all about keeping that land bridge or that trading post open in the Middle East, especially when oil gets into the picture. And Churchill was first to realize that was going to be the key land holding, if you will, foothold in the Middle East once he cut over the British Navy from the coal.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's once oil was discovered as a power source, but that doesn't really explain Henry Wentworth Monk's showing up in Abraham Lincoln's office during the Civil War, asking the United States to to recognize Palestine as a Jewish homeland.
No, but I think the Rothschilds had put a lot of money into the Suez Canal, and they really didn't have a foothold state to protect it. And,
wasn't that a little later? When was the Suez Canal built?
1840s, 1845, 1850. I don't know. I think it's
okay.
Yeah, I think it was before the Civil War. And
but I'm just saying this idea of getting the Jews to go control the land bridge is older than the discovery of oil. I would agree with that. I put it right in there with the Suez Canal for sure. Yeah, right.
Because that's the closest place where you could have where British intelligence could talk a group of people into sacrificing generations to hold open the land bridge.
They could say it's in the book. You have to do it.
Right. You could appeal to the Bible, and say it's your destiny to, the years in bondage. I mean, the years in captivity 80 years in the wilderness. Come on, man. You do your part.
And look, and it's funny because I wrote that book, Stealth Power and the Illusion of Democracy, and the thing about that book is that I found many sources since I published that book that point to the Tsar's secret police being behind publishing the protocols of the learned elders of Zion. But then the question that I have is, who gave them that information, right? Where did they get that, right? And to me, it kind of points back to London. I'm just thinking, if you want to disrupt, if you want to disrupt Russia, like if the same people who financed the Bolshevik Revolution had been trying to disrupt Russia for a long time, because again, like I wrote in that Russia article, it was Catherine the Great that was asked for troops by her cousin, George III, to put down the American Revolution. And she not only did not do that, but she supported the American Revolution. And then later, I think it was Alexander II, during the American Civil War, not only didn't help the British out, but he sent a fleet to both New York Harbor and San Francisco Harbor to prevent the British from supporting the South more than they had been. Then, the British not only have a geopolitical reason to go after Russia, but they also have this kind of like revenge motive, right? Because the Russians have basically been getting in their way of global hegemony for a long time.
Yeah, I think as far as manufacturing, Russia was stunted. I didn't, I'm not a Russia expert or anything, a Russophile or anything, but I do think that the peasant economy and the whole Eastern Europe story is being cut off from resources like oil. And then without that, you don't have the machinery and the manufacturing base and so forth. Coal before that, even though Russia has vast resources and even an extensive rail network, they didn't have the communications network that the British Empire did, where messages went from one end of the British Empire to the other in 10 minutes and so forth. And that's really, if you look at the British strategy, it's probably been to subjugate Russia amongst all other things, So
well, yeah, I mean,
chip on the shoulder.
I mean, one of the things that Poe and LaRouche and several other people have pointed out is that the Tsar had the Russian Tsar was allied with the British during World War I, and they had to figure out a way to beat Germany and Russia in that war. And part of the reason that they needed to they needed to figure out a way to defeat Russia, or get Russia to defeat itself, which was what they wound up doing, was because the Tsar had one of the deals that the Tsar made in coming in as an ally with France and Great Britain was control of the Dardanelles. Russia had a secret treaty with Great Britain that gave them control of the Dardanelles, which is the entrance of the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, and the only reason that we know that is because it was in Trotsky's papers, and that alliance was, that secret deal for that alliance was conveniently forgotten after the Russian Revolution.
Yeah, well, that's the way of all things, the way of all treaties, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I've been, kept up with the LaRouche folks here and again with their various executive information reports and so forth, and they're a little dated, but very good historical analysis. And I find them very beneficial. And I'm currently working on a person who is very up on the LaRouchian thing. I'm currently working on a screenplay for him, a young actor. He doesn't know about this yet, but I'm working on an American juggernaut novel. Actually, I didn't write it. It's already in the can. And I'm looking at trying to do a screenplay. So I was hoping maybe if I could turn the conversation a little bit, since you're probably the guy who's been inundated with more screenplays than anyone in Hollywood.
Just not true, but keep going.
Well, it is true. How many people have a whole wall of scripts? So anyway,
I didn't read them all, though. I only read a few of them. They were just in my office.
Okay. Well, I don't know if
I've probably honestly read 200 or 300 scripts in my life, but that's it. You know, people in Hollywood read thousands.
Yeah. Well, I just, I wanted to pick your brain on script writing and screenwriting because I want to write a treatment, and then I would love to do a screen.
Well, we could do you could do a pitch meeting. Okay, so you know what an elevator pitch is?
Sure.
It's okay. So the elevator pitch for people who are watching is like you find yourself in an elevator with the head of the studio, and you have until the elevator gets to the place where the executive is going to get off to pitch him on the movie. So give me the pitch, George.
Well, this is sort of Easy Rider meets Billy Jack.
And this is exactly how it goes. Usually, is that you take two movies that the executive producer has already seen, and you throw them together and you see if they stick. So Easy Rider meets Billy Jack. So Easy Rider was a subversive, anti-establishment, low-budget film that was produced, I believe, by Bob Evans at Paramount with Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda, right?
Nicholson. Yeah,
Jack Nicholson, and then Billy Jack was an independent film, and I believe it was like the beginning of the lone karate dude. Wasn't he kind of like a? He was a badass martial artist with a black hat, and he was kind of a Batman-like character. Like he was fighting for justice, but he didn't do it in a way that was legal. Is that did I have that correctly?
Yeah, and maybe Billy Jack's not the right perfect one to do because this guy's also sort of a shaman, like he's in touch with native religion and so forth, and he's going to various reservations and Indian reservations around America, fighting crime and figuring out crime. A little bit more Sherlock Holmes, a little more cerebral than Billy Jack, a little less karate. And I interviewed the author up here in Post Falls and the publicist today, Nicholas Thorpe. It's the book, and it's called Welcome to... There are your cameras back, Peter. Cool back.
I figured out there was a button that I could push, and let's see how long it stays on.
It's called Welcome to South Dakota, which has nothing to do with the story. But we have a guy, and I wrote a book about him already, called The Biomancer, or something along the line of The Biomancer. I can't remember. I wrote the book so long ago. But it was about a shaman-like character that we had, or who was very much up on LaRouche. Incredible, brilliant young man. He's also got the looks that we need for this 24-year-old. The only difference was that the character that this guy cast in the book, Nicholas Thorpe cast this 6'10" Indian guy, Native American. He's 350 pounds, 24. He's like an NFL football player. So we're just going to have to change all the fives. Sixes.
Or basketball player.
Yeah, he was an NFL football player in the book, Welcome to South Dakota.
Okay.
The first one is set in South Dakota. The first of the 4-piece or trilogy is set in South Dakota. So we have to change all the sixes to fives. But that's the only change we need to make. It's pretty much this bioman.
You mean his height?
That's it. That's all we have to change. Everything else is the same.
So what's the plot of the story, George?
Well, it starts out with this guy touring America, sort of on a kind of one of those journeys where you find yourself, sort of thing, or spirit journeys.
Okay, so
it's motorcycle maintenance, sort of.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say is that all good screenplays start off with a crisis in the first 3 pages. Motorcycle Maintenance is a novel, so it takes longer for the crisis to build. But in Motorcycle Maintenance, what happens is that I can't remember. I think he's unnamed. The guy who's the author of the book, I think he goes as unnamed. He talks about himself, but he doesn't ever say who he is. He has a complete total nervous breakdown because he is a teacher of rhetoric, and he is grading papers. And a small old woman comes into his office to water the plants, and she's been working at this university for years. And she says to him, "I hope you're teaching quality today." And he looks at the papers that he's grading, and he starts wondering about the word quality. And he starts trying to figure out why he thinks one paper is a B and the other one is a C. And that leads him down into a rabbit hole that he spins into for the rest of the book. So in Joseph Campbell's parlance, he leaves the realm of the known, which is his office, where he is. Oh, it looks like my camera. So wait, maybe I know how to switch cameras now. Let me see if I could do this. We have to remember going from the realm of the known into the realm of the unknown. Okay, so first I have to go to settings, and then I'm going to change to my studio display camera. Here we go. And then I'm going to turn it back on, and there it is. Ooh. And now I can do the studio. Now you guys can see the rest of my apartment.
Oh, cool.
There it is. It's very exciting.
So known to the unknown.
No, you go from you have to go. So at the beginning of a good story, the hero always goes from the realm of the known to the realm of the unknown. And while he's in the realm of the unknown, he usually has different trials that he needs to accomplish. Usually there's 3. And in the case of men, usually it's lust, greed, and power. Those are the 3 things that you got to overcome. In the case of women, it's usually lust, greed, and social pressure. Those are the 3 trials that you have to overcome. And then what happens is that the main character will go through the process of learning how to deal with those 3 things. And when they do, they will take that knowledge back to the 3rd act of the trials of the 3 things is the 2nd act. And then when they get into the 3rd act, what they do is that they use the things that they learned in the 2nd act to be able to overcome, the big boss at the end of the story. In Star Wars, Luke is told to use the Force, right? And when he's going down the trench at the end of the movie in Star Wars, he turns off his targeting computer. And everybody goes, "He turned off the targeting computer." And that's because he learned to use the Force from Yoda in the swamp, right? And then he uses it and he blows up the Death Star. So usually you go from the realm of the known into the realm of the unknown, and then there's 3 things that the hero's got to do. That at least that's what you do in a good movie.
And in chapter 1, Peter, all those are met. The guy's on a spirit journey, 24-year-old. He's my size. I say I gotta talk to the publicist. Like, we gotta make him down to 5'10", because we have the perfect actor. We have the biomancer. But and casting is everything. Bob Evans told me that. Bob, in his audiobook, said casting. Don't worry about anything else. Do casting. We have the perfect character. But my point is that he's going to just go on a spirit journey to Mount Rushmore. He's going to go see Crazy Horse. He's not going to go see the presidents. That doesn't resonate with him. He's going to see Crazy Horse. And while he's walking to the Crazy Horse monument over the Mount Rushmore with the presidents, he sees a shooting, and this guy falls off of the head of George Washington and goes down by the nose. The nose is 21 feet long. He goes by the eyes. The eyes are 11 feet wide. He goes all the way down, and he hits a scree pile at the bottom. And of course, he thinks he's dead, but he's not. He's not. And we have to figure out who the bad guy is that shot him, and then that starts the whole thing. So now Indian isn't just a spirit quest. Now it's to find the bad guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And it gets better because we have the perfect actor for the bad guy, who, and I don't want to spoil the plot.
So you're thinking that because you've already got it cast that you're going to make the movie.
Well, I'm going to change. This is my thing.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing you have to understand about what Bob Evans said when he said casting. What he meant was that you need to have a bankable star, because if you don't have the right cast, the bank won't give you the money to make the movie.
Yeah, well, a little bit of a modification on that is that it has to work also with the person. So when you cast this actress named Sharon Stone in the role of the person who's the axe murderer, the ice pick murderer, everyone
what was her name? What was the name of that character? I don't remember.
Yeah, but everyone can easily believe Sharon Stone in that role. Even Bob Evans said, I have a $285,000 check here in the name of Sharon Stone if she can prove I murdered 3 people. That's right in his book. The kid stays in the picture. So that's what I'm saying is, somebody who is just, that kind of person who is, going to be successful, hook or by crook, right? She was cast perfectly in that movie, in that Sony Pictures movie, and I'm even forgetting the name of it.
Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct, yeah. And I think Sliver.
Well, that movie was a biopic. The only thing in that movie that was fiction was the ice pick, and that was just a metaphor for the way that she deals with the men in her life. And
I think you can speak to that.
I can tell you from personal experience that's true.
And the part that Bob Evans said about Cary Grant was, he said, I'm not that good an actor, but I'm just better at anyone else at playing Cary Grant.
Right. Well, that's the kind of fun. I realized that if I move cameras, I've got to move my mic. That's the thing about male actors, is that it's interesting because a lot of male actors really just play themselves, and the movies that, like Clint Eastwood, is he'd probably get mad if he heard me say that, right? But
true.
But Clint Eastwood pretty much shows up as Clint Eastwood and does Clint Eastwood. And I don't think that there's a huge amount of difference between Clint Eastwood in front of the camera and Clint Eastwood behind the camera, except he probably tells better jokes when he's
tried to punch out of his current roles, with Bronco Billy. And so
Bronco
forth.
Billy was a great film. We got to watch Bronco Billy. Okay,
good film. But a commercial flop because people want to see the strong, silent guy who mops up the floor with everybody, right? That's his typecast.
I'm
right?
so glad that you remind me of that movie, because I'm always kind of thinking when I want to watch movies. I only have time to watch good movies now. Like I don't have any time to watch bad movies. So we watched Network again last night.
Great movie.
Network. If you guys want to know what's going on right now, today, watch Network. Okay,
Yeah,
that movie
Peter
holds
Finch's
up
best.
hard.
Yeah, it does a great job. But here's the situation, Peter, where this guy knows everything there is to know about LaRouche, has read every EIR. We want to make him an intellectual vision quester, right? And he's going to be involved. And this guy.
Oh, this is the Indian guy who falls off George Washington's nose?
He's the guy who investigates the guy who's shot and falls off George Washington's nose.
So the guy falls off George Washington's nose and he doesn't live.
Well, he lives, but that's not the star. I'll just leave it at that. He's investigating that murder, and then he's tracking. He starts tracking the murderer, and he's okay. And I don't want to give away the plot, but he's tracking the murderer. It's not just a vision quest; it's a quest against evil. Then it turns from a self-centered thing to a end evil, and he goes to all these different spiritual places for Native Americans in the quest, and that's what makes this actor we have perfect. Biomancer is perfect for this, and then we have another actor, and again, these are all people from our research.
Do you have money to make this movie, George?
These are all researchers in our community. They know who the Biomancer is. I wrote a book on him, but there's another people, an unknown actor, but Tara Starr.
I know Tara. Yeah.
Yeah, she's been in your living room.
See, making movies is like starting a war. You need a bank.
But this one you don't, because you have the characters. They're jumping off the screen at you. But anyway, her husband.
I'm laughing because immediately behind me is a gray sofa.
Yes. right. And you've given me the lessons that no, you make movies, but we have what a pipe, a 2 foot length of pipe, and a little bit of thread. And we have to make a movie with that, right? So anyway, that's where we stand today. And but if you want the book, Nicholas Thorpe is the author. It's a pen name.
Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. It's called Welcome to South Dakota. And
let me go find
free. You can get it for free. You can read it for free on. You can read it for free on Kindle Unlimited, and there's also an audio book where you can have it read to you. And then, I just is interesting. He also wrote a space opera called Europa Contagion, sort of like what do you call it? It's sort of like Andromeda Strain meets Star Wars. So that's a short story.
Okay, that sounds like a Star Trek episode or something.
Yeah, it's more of an episodic kind of thing. But I'm really interested in the Native American Vision Quest because
didn't John Peters and Peter Guber make a movie called Vision Quest?
Yes. It was with Matthew Broderick or Bodine. Matthew Bodine, I believe, was Vision Quest, about a boxer, wasn't it? Maybe
I don't know. I just remember the title, and I remember I don't know if I was working at Sony or somebody was working at Sony that I knew at that time. There's a great book about Peter Guber and John Peters at Sony. Is this the book?
Yes.
Welcome to South Dakota, Sunny Canyon. Yeah. Okay, but here's what you have to find out, George. Did anybody option this book?
No, I'm on the inside track here.
Okay.
So I got the option, and so I got an option for all three. Now that cost me exactly $0 because I said I'm trading my promotion for this, so I got to have that's my vig in this. But I just really want this actor that I wrote the book about.
So is this the book that you want to have GPT write a screenplay for?
I don't want to do GPT. I want you to tell me how to best extract a screenplay. I don't want to do GPT.
Right. Yeah, because what George and I were talking about before the show started today is that, most people think books make good movies, and they don't. Short stories make good movies because a movie is a good movie is 90 minutes long. Sometimes they're 2 hours long. That's 120 minutes, and there's roughly 1 page in a script for every minute on the screen. So you're looking at a 90 to 100 page script, and scripts are only printed on one side. So that's a 45 to 60 page book. That's kind of a rough approximation. Most books are 5 times longer than that. So that means that it reminds me of I had a deal with my daughter when she was a little kid. She was probably like 8 or 9 years old, and the deal was, if you finish reading the Harry Potter book, I'll take you to go see the movie. Okay, and so she finished reading the first Harry Potter book, and I took her to go see the movie. And at the end of the movie, I said, "What'd you think?" And she goes, "That sucked."
Yeah.
And I said, "Why is that?" And she goes, "They left 3/4 of the book out of the movie."
Yep.
And she was right. She was right. Compared to the book.
600.
What?
This first book, this first Sonny McKinnon book, is a 600-page book.
Right.
So we're going to end up leaving 5.
So usually in a 600-page book, you've got a plot. And usually you've got subplots, and sometimes you have multiple subplots. You might have different characters that you're covering, and Charles Dickens is kind of famous for kind of like weaving these characters in and out like a mosaic, right? But like a blanket or something. You're weaving everything together, right? And so the first thing that you do when you take a book and you turn it into a movie is you start taking out the subplots. So, for example, in Jaws, if you read the book, which I thought was a terrible... By the way, I thought it was a terrible book, Jaws. The movie Jaws is so much better than the...
Yeah, I read Peter Benchley's book, and I said, why did anybody want to watch this movie? And then I saw the movie, I said, oh, wow, great movie.
Well, the last 3 pages are stolen out of Moby Dick. And the rest of it is like a bad Harlequin novel because the sheriff's wife is having an affair with the Richard Dreyfuss character. And it's all so sordid and,
And all that's dropped out of the movie and makes it a much better movie.
And at the end of the book, when he kills the shark, he's already killed the shark, but he doesn't know it, and he looks down in the water, and the shark is coming straight at him. It's coming straight up at him, and then it just bobs up next to him because it's dead, and that's the end of the book. And it's like, I closed the book and I went, "This sucks. This is a terrible book."
Well, Spielberg did a great job with
Spielberg
that.
put the tank. He put the scuba tank in the shark's mouth
to explode it.
And so Quint, or the sheriff, Roy Scheider, who's also in my favorite movie, All That Jazz, he shoots the scuba tank with the rifle and blows the head off of the shark. Much better ending than Peter Benchley.
Yeah, and you start off with saying you're going to pitch Jaws. You say, well, it's a faster Moby Dick, right? It's a Moby Dick with teeth.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're done. You have Melville, and then you say sharper teeth. How can that not be a commercial success? And this, Alec Guinness did a movie called Indian, I believe. It was about the original road races in the Bonneville Salt Flats to set the land speed record. And there's this old guy who comes in with this Indian motorcycle souped up. And there's a little bit of that in this too, because he needs to figure out how to make his motorcycle go faster to chase the bad guy.
Okay, so JBGT3 says scripts need conflicts and turning points. What's the major conflict in this movie, George?
Bad guy, good guy, no question.
No, but what makes a bad guy the bad guy?
He kills people.
Like I used the word. What was the word that I used? It's subversive. So there was all these movies that came out after World War II, and the communists moved into Hollywood, and this is what they were doing to the Hollywood movies, is that they were making them subversive. So what makes a movie subversive? You've got a bad cop and a good criminal. You're taking a normal trope and you're turning it upside down. And so,
well, you also have to figure out why the victims are the victims that they are. What's the connecting thread? So there's a detective story here as well, and that makes it a Sherlock Holmes, and that's the intellectual part of it. That's why it's so difficult to get an actor who can do all this, and then that actor's in our lap. So we kind of have to write the screenplay around the actor, I think. But the turning points.
You do that for Brad Pitt. You don't do that.
Yeah. Well, we don't have any money. You got to remember. But
I know that's why you should. If you don't have any money, you need a good story.
But
okay.
We were going to do the Crook story. We're looking at the Crook story.
The Crook story sounds like it's more box office.
Yeah, I mean, we're working with the family, but I mean, we got to get the family through the legal thing. But we'd love to do the Crook story as him as the duped, groomed spotter, right? That's the story we're going to tell. Our ABC After School special is him being a dutiful kid who shows up early for work and does everything he's asked, and he goes to a year of shooting lessons, and then all of a sudden he gets his brains blown in.
Well, this sounds like something that you could go crowdfund and get done immediately. You could call it the Patsy.
Yeah, well, and I've got a lot of stuff out there on this already, and a lot of Substacks on this topic, and really, we just need the family at this point for life rights, because the family needs to understand we're on their side. You
don't. Actually, you don't.
I understand he's a public character now, but we need the father and the mother's interaction with the son to truly tell the story the best, I think.
Well, what you do is that you write your own story and you tell them that this is what you're going to shoot, and if they want it to look better, they should cooperate.
Great idea. That's what we're going to do. That's a great idea. That's what we're going to do. Bing,
There's two ways this could go out. This can go out the way that I'm saying it, or you could tell me where I'm wrong, and then we'll fix it. Right?
I love it.
I mean,
love that idea.
I mean, I was involved in a rewrite on the Doors movie, and the Doors movie. And again, I have questions about Oliver Stone. I like Oliver Stone, but I still have questions. I have questions about Jim Morrison. We've talked about this on the show before, but the Doors movie script floated around Hollywood for years, and it didn't get made. And the reason that movie never got made was because when Jim Morrison died, he died without a will, and so the management contract on the Doors was everybody had equal rights. So Jim Morrison's rights went to his girlfriend and his parents, I think, and then his girlfriend OD'd, and then her rights went to her parents. So I think that part of their management deal was that they had to have unanimous approval from all of the stakeholders in order to be. It was after Jim Morrison was on vacation. This is the way that I heard the story. I could be wrong, so you can fact check me. But the way that I heard the story was that Jim Morrison was like on vacation, and Ford Motor Company wanted to license Light My Fire for a Ford car commercial. And the other three Doors said, yeah, that's great. And they licensed it. And Jim Morrison got back from vacation and he saw a Doors song on a Ford commercial, and he was upset about it. So he changed the contract. And what he did is he changed it to say it has to be unanimous to use any of our songs for a commercial release. So he dies. His rights go to his parents and his girlfriend. His girlfriend dies. Her rights go to her parents. So now, in order to get a Doors song approved for anything, you need all three remaining members of the band, his parents and her parents, all 7 of them, okay, have to agree in order to release the rights. So it became almost impossible to make the movie. And the person who convinced everybody, because Morrison's parents didn't want him being being depicted as a guy who OD'd on drugs, right? A drug addict, and neither did her parents. So it took Oliver. The way the story goes, it took Oliver Stone going and lobbying all of the people in order to be able to, because you can't make a Doors movie without music. Okay, right. There's no music in your story, George. Okay, there's history.
No, there's music. We have Uric, and we have his Antifa selections. We have his playlists, and so we were going to use Uric and Hooper's playlists from when they did have social media, and we're saying this is a big brother sell to a little brother. That was their sell to groom him.
What is there a Shakespeare angle? What if Crooks and Uric are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern?
Well, there's a little too much space between them. I like the idea of the interplay between those two, but there's a little more.
I'm being the know-it-all Hollywood executive with my feet up on the desk, trying to help you out.
Right. Well, there was My Bodyguard. If you remember the movie My Bodyguard. There are
the dark side of My Bodyguard. Making a subversive version of My Bodyguard.
Yeah. So there are versions here, but this is really an American tragedy, right? This is going to be.
That's a good name.
Well, it could be Crooks and American Tragedy, right? And the story is mainly him as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, who wants to become a mechanical engineer, and then he gets these rock and rollers who are, introduce him to these beautiful women and this van, and now he's starting to get sex and so forth, and all of a sudden the mechanical engineering dreams go away, and he becomes a little union organizer and an Act Blue door knocker, and then all of a sudden they start saying, hey, you can make money shooting. And why don't you make some money shooting and get in this thing, and it'll be cool. We'll all go out on the van and we'll all get drunk afterward or get high afterward. That's where the story goes. And, I think this is what the Crooks family is thinking right now. They just hired this Korean law lawyer, top lawyer in Pittsburgh. And I think they're thinking about fighting back. They're also an active offense to tell the true story, an alternative narrative. It is also a good defense because now they want to go after Crooks for transferring the gun to his son.
Yeah, I would probably advise taking a look at any kind of like true crime TV shows and the way that they put those shows together. You know, Aristotle said that drama is much easier to write than history, and the reason is that there's a beat to drama. I think that Aristotle said the beat to drama is praxis poesis theoria, which means something happens, which makes somebody think something, which makes somebody do something, which makes something happen, which makes somebody think something, which makes somebody do something. So praxis poesis, it's called the beat of drama, right? And so when you're writing a drama, you can write that he did this and then he thought that and that made him do this, which made him do that. You know, you can put the beats together that way. History is harder because you have to match what is happening in your story, what people know actually happened, right?
And that is the hard part because we have to be as religious to the truth as possible. We have to be as adherent to the truth as possible, and then we even have to give like warnings where we say reconstruction or whatever, or best, composite character, a warning at the beginning or a disclaimer at the end. But we're already set about talking to all these people in Butler, right? If we don't set it at Bethel Park School, we could set it close. If we can't get access to Clarendon Shooting Range, we can get a Keystone. We can get something close. We can do a pretty good job of telling. It's sort of like Deer Hunter meets the Harold and Maude. Only Maude is way older as an influencer.
That's the darkest elevator pitch I ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of bad company, bad influence, bad English, where you get in with the wrong crowd, that kind of story. Like you say, it's more of an ABC after school special at this point. But what
vectors do you think? So who are the handlers and who are the assets, and what were the methods used? So, for example, is Urich a handler and Crooks is an asset?
Yep, sex, drugs, and rock and roll is the method. The handling is, Hooper also. I think Bohr maybe. We'll see if he comes into the picture. Hooper is the older Antifa guy. He's the 37-year-old in 2016, so he's like 43, 44 now. But they're both kind of rock star looking guys. They're riding around in the cherry popper van. They have this super good looking girl that they're riding, Antifa girl that they're riding with. So it's kind of like Cheech and Chong, only Jim Morrison driving the van. It's sort of like the Doors in a van.
Right. Or the movie Orange County. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah, like an Orange County movie. It's a traveling road show. Right, it's a
where Crooks is Colin Hanks and Urich is Jack Black. Is that?
Yeah, I think I think their road show is already going. They've been doing this for 8 years, going all over the country with the Cheech and Chong, the Jerry Garcia.
Right.
Further, with whatever I can't remember who wrote Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, Tom Wolfe. It's already on it. It's already a show. It's the Antifa van. They're having sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but it's the story of the corrupting of crooks. That's the drama, and it's every parent's nightmare that these guys are the ones that end up taking your kid down the wrong path.
I can. I can't imagine what his father must be going through. It's unreal.
Right.
We have a couple of questions. We've been going an hour. Let me see. Somebody said, "Do you have matches for sale?" Yes, I think I've got one. And I think you probably can order it if you go to the buymeacoffee.com/The Duke Report. I think I have one. So there's that question. And Mark Palermo, big supporter of the show, said, "I don't know I don't know if I understand this question, but maybe George does. Are the white hats occupying Switzerland?
I hope there's a neutral contingent that's not sold out to NATO in Switzerland.
I think Switzerland was created by the Venice oligarchs, so
So they
I don't know.
So they could sweep up the gold from the world wars.
Well, yeah, I mean, Switzerland was a colony of Venice, so yeah. I mean, the thing is about Switzerland that you have to always ask yourself is why don't they ever have wars there?
Yeah, they have mountains.
They're right. If you look at the geography, like they're right in the middle. They're in the middle of Europe. You know, it's like
mountains and mines, and we
Right.
just want to store the gold. We don't.
And
really
people
want
always claim, oh yeah, it's because they have bunkers and they've got an army, and you'd have to be crazy to go in there and fight them. But that's what they said about the Maginot Line, and the Germans didn't seem to have any problem. They figured
You have to run
it
your
out.
intelligence operations out of somewhere, and they did for both World War I and World War II.
Yep. So anyway, that's all the questions I see so far. So, well, yeah, your next step, George, is you need to write a treatment, and a treatment is a one-page version of the movie, and the treatment needs to have the plot. It needs to have the beginning. It needs to have the beats, and it needs to have the end. And you need to be able to fit it on a page. Because that's all anybody will ever give you the time to read.
And that's what I told him. I said that's what I told Nick. As I said, pending.
Which
next step is treatments.
Which reminds me of I've got some new. I think I got since last week. Let me see if I can pull this up. I have. Let me see. TheDukeReport.com / I need to link this on the homepage. TheDukeReport.com / TPU, which is 2-page university. And let me pull this up. Share this tab instead. There we go. And where did my StreamYard go? I've lost StreamYard. I've lost control, George. I don't know how to control it. Here we go. I don't know how to control the... So 2-page university... we are up to 9 titles? Yeah, 9 titles. I have a 10th one that I have not pushed live yet, which is the...
You should get a Quigley and Sutton. You should be eligible for a Quigley and Sutton diploma after you go through 20 at the 2-page university.
Oh, well, I have to get 20. I'm up to... I have 9 up right now. I have to push live the 10th one that I did yesterday, which is, I'm trying to remember what it is. Operation Northwoods. I actually took the Joint Chiefs of Staff document. In case, again, people can't, can you get rid of Goodman Fool on Twitter?
I've tried.
You've tried? Okay, all right. Because Goodman Fool is a great name for an account.
Well, that one, yeah.
Anyway, so the point is that I've got 9 up. I've got a 10th one that I'll push live. I'm trying to do a story on the Duke Report and then a book, a 2-page university book. 2-page university books are 2 pages. They're PDFs. Here, let me click on one here, The True Believer. See what happens. And you'll see, let me see, share this instead. You'll see it's a PDF, and the PDF has got a nice front cover, and then it's got a 2-page summary of the book. And my assumption is that people don't have time to read, and they won't read. And so the idea is that this is a 2-page version of the book, The True Believer, and if you scan this QR code, you can go get the book, like if you're interested in getting the book. But for people who are living in a world where they're actually still watching the news. They're still voting. They're still thinking that voting is a real thing. I know that, George, you still think voting is a real thing, at least. But
Harry the Greek has a great new article out. I'm here in Idaho.
Yeah.
About how the Dominion election systems go back to the Idaho National Laboratory. Brassballs.blog. He just came out with that today.
And again, to me, that's just more evidence that our system has been so compromised for so long. I don't believe that we've had an honest presidential election since 1910. Okay, and I'm not convinced that there has been a good American president since 1910. I'm not sure there has been. I'm ready to be disabused.
Kennedy in there. Kennedy is the one exception, I think.
Yeah, you know what? Kennedy had 60 Rhodes Scholars in his cabinet, in the executive department. He went to the London School of Economics. I'm not sure that Kennedy wasn't just a Trump, that he was put in there, and for whatever reason, he didn't do what the oligarchs needed him to do, and they needed to get rid of him. So I'm not committed. Here's my litmus test for current events: is are people willing to name 9/11 as not what was reported? That is, whatever the government said that they were doing on 9/11, that's not what really happened. And this is my problem with a lot of people, and I could go through a whole list of people, but I'm not going to.
And instead of government, I just say Dick Cheney.
Right. Okay. Dick
He's
Cheney.
the one who wrote
Fine. Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
Dick Cheney. Okay.
And for
can we just say, can Donald Trump just say Dick Cheney did 9/11? Okay.
Yes.
Can he say it? I haven't heard him say.
He said Bobby Kennedy said today that they agreed on the neocons being the big problem, and Bobby Kennedy also said he thought Amaryllis Fox was the smartest person he ever met in the Tucker Carlson interview. So, a CIA agent.
She may be very smart.
She may be.
The CIA doesn't hire stupid people.
No, she's smart.
Right. Yeah. So the idea is that there are litmus tests for me as far as what's real and what's not real, and I don't. Harry the Greek is just providing more evidence that the system is rigged, and this is just another way that they rig it. Okay, it's not new. There's new technology. There's new ways to rig elections. It's like, that's just the way that it is. So it used to be that you only had 3 television networks, and so the way you rigged elections is you just chose the information that people got to hear and didn't get to hear, right? Now it's a little bit more complicated. You need more infrastructure. You need the 60,000 people on government contracts doing signature reduction. If you doubt me, go to Google and type in signature reduction Newsweek, and you'll find the article where Newsweek talks about signature reduction. So the idea is that, where am I going with this? That there are litmus tests for what's real and what's not real, and I don't believe that. I don't put JFK on a big white horse. Maybe he was better than all the other ones, but I would be much happier with George Webb, or I would be much happier with Jason Goodman.
Hey, I'm having trouble connecting. I have technical.
I mean, William F. Buckley said that the government, that our government would be more representative if we picked random people out of the phone book. Now, for you youngsters, phone books are...
That's what you don't want to randomly pick. I'm actually at the home of 2 of the folks that are really great supporters here in Idaho that I'm just meeting.
Yep.
So I need to go off camera and mute, but please finish the show.
No. I can.
You're at
we can.
that point?
Yeah, I'm at a point. I'm just noticing in this new camera though how sunburned I look, but only on one side of my face. It's kind of weird.
But we know from your videos now, Peter, that you and Lady Jessica are the only people that are enjoying the bluff.
It's so weird.
And all those people down there are choking on each other's fumes, and you're above it all.
We're literally above it all. So
you're above it all.
With that, look for some more two-page university publications. George, I think your idea of having a diploma is good.
And one-page treatments. We're going to do 2-page university and 1-page treatments for all the movie scripts that we're
One-page treatments. And and again, if you want me to, I can take that book and drop it in GPT and say, make
Please.
this, make
Yeah,
give me a
please
summary.
do.
Yeah, give me an elevator pitch. Give me a 1-page treatment of a movie based on this book. Boom.
I
See
would
what
love
happens.
that. I would love that. Let's put that in the notes because that would
Okay,
be
but
wonderful.
it helps a lot though if you've read the book, so that when you see the parts that it's missed, you could remind it, and then it will do it over again as many
I've got
times as you
several-
want. As many
Several
times as you
people
want.
have read the book. I know. Yep. I love it.
Indeed. All right. We will see you again next Tuesday. If you want to support George Webb, go to georgewebb.substack.com, which is immediately below George's smiling face right there. You can also support George Webb by going to buymeacoffee.com/George Webb, no E, number 1. You can go to paypal.me/George Schweigert, or you can go to Venmo/GeoWeb. To support Peter Duke, me on this channel, you can go to Substack. You can go to thedukereport.substack.com. You can go to thedukereport.com/shop. You can buy an edgy t-shirt. I'm still supporting people who have been loyal and great supporters on Buy Me a Coffee. If you want to transition over to Substack, I'm not forcing you to do that, but it would eventually, I'm probably going to lose to Buy Me a Coffee, but probably not soon. But if you want to mosey over to Substack instead of Buy Me Coffee, that would be great. And otherwise, you could buy my book. You can go to Amazon and you can go get Stealth Power and the Illusion of Democracy. And spoiler alert, I took the Jews out of the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. There's no anti-Semitism in the book. You can read the rules of the game for the way that they are laid out, and then you can guess who you think is actually doing those things. And my suggestion is that if you follow Lyndon LaRouche or Matthew Arrett or any of those smart people, Anthony Chaikin, Tony Chaikin, that it's the British. And not the British people, the British oligarchs, and they come over from Holland and Venice, and it's a long history. Anyway, with that, I will see you again next Tuesday, George.
Thanks, Peter. Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
everybody.